It's been a hell of a week, y'all. I don't know how you're feeling, but we have been. I mean, look, it feels like it's been a good turning point toward the light at the end of the tunnel for me in terms of my healing process and I've just been going through this crazy time.
We're recording this on a Friday afternoon too, so it's very much like Friday afternoon energy.
Friday energy is way different.
Yeah. Why? Why is that? We don't even have a real fucking job. Sorry. I also got to I'm realizing now how much I say fuck. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm from Maine.
It's a nice word.
It's the most versatile word in the English language.
It really is. No judgment.
That reminds me of some uncle stories that we should tell later.
Eventually, we are going to talk about something useful.
But not today.
Start a podcast, they said.
Uncle Dave stories. Speaking of swearing and being from Maine.
Okay.
That's all I need to know.
You have an Uncle Dave and I have an Uncle Dave. We both have different Uncle Daves. Although my Uncle Dave does swear now, thank God.
Oh, yeah. Fucking right.
I love you, Dave.
Love you, Dave.
What is your Uncle Dave story?
Okay, so my Uncle Dave's story is it's my Uncle Bob's 60th or 70th, some landmark birthday party. So we're all out at this cabin in Maine. It was like this big surprise thing. We had to lure them out. All the aunts and uncles are there. There's a ton of them. And it's cold. It's Maine. So at the end of the night, my mom was like, here's the keys. Go start the car. Go warm it up, because that's a thing up there. You have to warm up the car a little bit. So I go out there, I warm up the car, and I realize there's kind of like a shadow. I feel like there's someone looking at me, and I look up, and my Uncle Dave is just staring at me over the window, wide-eyed, just fucking staring. And I'm like, hi, Dave. And he goes, you're a fucking asshole.
Oh, wow.
And just walks away. No laugh, nothing else. Just no other acknowledgement. The whole night, whenever we see each other, he's like, what a fucking dick. I mean,
see, now you know where he gets it from.
Yeah. Now you just need to know, I'm going to tell you another story every time, and you'll slowly start to piece it together.
Today we're actually talking about how to start anything new, right? Like one of the biggest reactions we had to the first episode of the podcast was, well, how do I start doing once I figure out my purpose, like how do I start doing what I love?
Is it starting or dropping?
Well, dropping is starting to me, because it's not just for music. This is a creative podcast, right? So if you're a musician, it's like dropping your first record and then continuing to do so. Or for us, it's the podcast. I've heard, actually, Alex, our producer, told me it takes 6 episodes before you know if somebody's going to actually stick with it. So if you can just get to 6 episodes of a podcast, right? So
that's
for
like
a
the
podcast,
threshold.
yes.
Oh,
so for a podcaster, it's 6 episodes, right? For a songwriter, it's probably like an EP or something. But I feel like there's a lot of people that drop one EP and they don't drop again. So it's like, okay, if it's somebody making candles, it's like how to open your online store and like take somebody's credit card information for the first time. Make your first dollar from your business. Qveen, how do I start? How do we start? Once you find the purpose, how do we get off the ground? So I think we're going to hit all of those topics today, and it's one of our favorite topics.
It is. And this can go a lot of different directions. So we'll just start, I guess.
Yeah,
and if we start rambling, then
we'll give you music stories, but this does apply to everybody who's doing everything, even if you're a puff painter. A puff and painter.
A puff and painter?
You could start a puff and paint business, which I actually I'm a fan of those.
Isn't there one? There's one in the neighborhood.
There is. Okay, so spoiler alert. When it comes to starting, it's all about small steps over time. It's like literally, we're going to talk about The Compound Effect, which is a book by Darren Hardy. So The Compound Effect is it's a short, easy read. It's my shit.
It's my shit.
Is that also from Key and Peele?
It is.
Okay.
I've been watching a lot of Key and Peele recently.
We love them. Okay, so the compound effect is basically you doing one small thing every day eventually leads to it becoming this huge thing. So the biggest thing I notice with people that don't know how to start something is they're afraid to begin, because they're afraid of what? Failure.
I was totally going to say that.
Okay. Damn it. It's like...
Afraid
cheese
of,
and
it was like,
crackers.
okay, she already said afraid. So fear, wait, hold on. What? Yes. Okay, keep going.
We shouldn't have done the scotch today.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the fear of dropping your first song or first product or first whatever, and no one cares. That's what, is that the biggest fear? Like irrelevancy?
Yeah. I think it's different for different people. Yeah.
Just feel into that for a moment.
There's a lot of levels to this.
No, can we just feel that? Like, because those people listening that are like, I want to start my dream job, and I want you to know that it's very highly likely that you we'll put it out and no one will care. Can we just feel that for a second?
No, let me tell you what's going to happen. I can promise you no one's going to care.
Wow.
That's what's going to happen.
So we're here for you. I just want you to feel that.
Now
I would feel
this is
into
an
the
exercise.
where do you feel the failure in your body? Is it like
Feel
in your
it.
chest?
Pretend you just made.
Because this is
poured,
something we have to do to get to the next part, which is where it gets good.
You just poured your heart and soul into creating something. Okay, you're like, this is it. It's going to the top.
This is who I am.
You put it out. Nobody fucking cares. I want you to just imagine. I want you to pretend. Put yourself in that position, and feel it. What happens? Where do you feel it? Is it like, does your stomach drop? Is it in? Do you get lightheaded? Where does it feel?
Mine is like here in my solar plexus, which is like right between your ribs.
So now what I want you to do is just acknowledge it. I don't want you to try to change the feeling. I want you to just observe it. Okay? It might take a few minutes. It's just you observing your feeling.
It feels yucky.
It feels very yucky. That's okay. That's perfectly normal. Just sit with it and observe it for a minute.
Yeah, it starts to go away.
It starts to dissipate. Every feeling we've ever had has gone away.
It is important that you face it, isn't it?
Like, you have to face it. But the other point is, you had that feeling. Let's pretend you put your heart and soul on something. You dropped it. It didn't fucking work. Oh, you're still fucking alive. What happened? Are you dead? No, you're fine. This is a completely brain egoic leftover thing that we don't need anymore. It's not serving you.
Great. So we got that out the way. Congratulations. Now you're going to be successful, bitch.
You made it. Hey, it's all uphill.
That's
a whole that's actually like the letting go technique too, which we'll get in another whole thing. But like the compound effect. So the entire concept, all right, is, and I'm going to totally fuck this up. It's like you get, is it a penny or a dollar?
Ooh,
okay,
yeah.
There's this kid, right? And he's in this fucking, he's the guy, and this king walks over and he's like, hey, kid, come here. And he's like, all right, you're the king.
So the compound effect is this. I'm going to give you 1 penny that doubles in value every day for 30 days. Or I'm just going to hand you $1 million right now. Which one are you taking?
$1 million, right?
Right? It feels like the obvious choice. Bitch, wrong. After 30 days, a penny turns into like over $5 million. Okay, so that's the essence of the compound effect, which makes us really excited because, we got our start on YouTube in like 2010. And we didn't know what we were doing.
We literally used this as an example to motivate ourselves in those days. So literally like 1 penny, nobody cares. 2 pennies,
nobody cares.
Nobody fucking 4 pennies, 8 like it's... Nobody's going to care. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Until like day 26.
And then all of a sudden at day 26,
oh shit,
then
I'm
it's
a millionaire.
Then it's worth like, I don't know, like probably $100,000 or something. And then it's like, oh, whoa, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happens in every success story, every overnight success. That's why the saying like overnight success takes 10 years.
Yeah.
That's where that comes from. To the public, to reach that critical mass point where suddenly everybody knows about it, that's the first time they're hearing about it. So to them, it's new.
For sure.
But they don't know that
like the best new artist category is like, what the fuck? It's like
they're like 43.
They're like, yeah, I've been in the game 12 years. Like,
yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
So be encouraged. You've now learned how to clear the fear out of your body wherever it is. You might need to do this a few more times.
It's not something that happens once. You've spent however many years old you are, you spent that many years doing it
the other way.
Yes. So give yourself time and patience to get it right.
And practice that new technique. Find the fear in your body, let it dissipate, and
just observe it. Don't follow it. The key is to not follow the thinking. Just sit with it. Yeah. Just fucking sit there and be like, all right, here we go. Don't try to change it. Just watch it.
Like it's a scared little baby.
And it will always dissipate.
And now you have the support of Nick and Qveen to tell you that, hey, this is how it's done. You drop something, nobody cares. You drop something else, nobody cares. You drop something else, nobody cares. But eventually it starts to happen. It's very exciting to watch. I love the rapper Russ. He actually posted like his income.
He's a prime example of this.
From TuneCore, which, by the way, for those that are not music people, TuneCore is a distribution service that pays artists their master royalties. If you're an independent artist, you get to keep all of your master royalties. Usually the label takes this.
That's how they make their money.
Exactly.
For people who don't know the music
Any
industry.
artists that are signed might not even know what a master royalty looks like, but it's actually a significant form of income. And Russ was not making money for at least what, like a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, it might have even been more.
And then he got like his first check for like $1,500, and then but it eventually became $300,000 a month.
And that's something that he owns, so it'll be just keeps going. Even if let's say that were to dwindle to, you know, $50,000 a month, that's still 50. You're not doing anything. You just that's intellectual property. That's IP that you own. That's just sitting. That's just part of the catalog. That is just shit that you own.
Don't wait around for somebody to come in on a horse and save you.
Big
like
part
you
too.
do. So what do I do? So now that we know I have to get rid of the fear. I have to put something out and know that most likely no one's going to care. So how do I now drop that very first thing? Because once you do that, it gets a lot easier. It's not going to be perfect either. But a lot of people are very like prideful and precious about their work.
They are, absolutely. And this, just to be clear, like this is not easy. There's going to be a lot of different phases to this. We're
here to give you sympathy, but also to yell at you.
Yeah, because fucking go. Fucking drop that shit.
We need your art.
Okay, so back to Russ. Another example, one of his biggest songs, he said, was sitting on a hard drive for 3 or 4 years. I don't know if that was like, if he was just saying that or whatever, but
A lot of people have had that.
We've heard of a ton of stories. So we were working with the writer on, I think he did How to Love for Lil Wayne, the hit a few years back. And he was talking about how that came to be, because he was like, man, I wrote that song at the time, like 4 years prior to when it came out.
Right.
Okay. And it was just sitting on some hard drive somewhere. And the engineer happened to bring it up by accident.
In a session.
In
when
a session
Wayne was there.
where Lil Wayne happened to be in the room. And he stopped. This is supposedly the story. He stopped and then he was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And then they played the song and literally he was like, yep. And they're like, dude, you see what? This is a singing song.
It's not even a rap song.
And he was like, I don't give a shit.
He's
it's
like,
a hit.
I'll sing it. Yeah, it's a hit.
It's a hit. I don't give a shit. I'll sing the shit. And
Number
he
one.
did. He wrote that 4 years prior to it coming out and had almost like forgot about it. Just kind of like moved on.
This is, by the way, Nick is my motivator. I just want everyone to, I want them to be clear.
I can't help it. It's such a pain in the ass.
I want to be clear. Like, everyone's like, Qveen, how do you do it? How do you do it, bitch? I am at home being a lazy ass tourist most of the day. He motivates me. Like, the only thing you haven't been able to do is keep me exercising consistently. We got about a year.
We did good though for a minute.
Like, really, he is you're such a war
drill
general.
sergeant.
Drill
it's
sergeant.
so
like,
annoying.
Yes. No, it's
Capricorn.
It's such a
big.
blessing. So to be fair, I have somebody pushing me. So if you have a friend, family member, somebody, a romantic partner, somebody that is going to be there for you, that believes in you, by the way, you only should surround yourself with people that believe in you. Only. Maybe that's a whole other episode.
Only.
But it is really helpful to have somebody hold you accountable, because we do need your art. I'm going to keep saying that until you get it. Okay, so a lot of people don't want to drop because they're so proud. They're like, but I'm a superstar. I can see the future. Well, it's going to take you a few steps to get there. You can't be so precious with something. You need to put it out to start building it, especially in the internet age.
I think that's an old world leftover again.
It is.
And it's a very toxic.
And the fear that you have is also a program that you were taught. That's not it's not even real.
It's not even real. And it's funny, hindsight is always 20/20, but when you go back and look at your fear, you're going to think how ridiculous it was. So you're always going to progress and change as you go along. But what was something you said earlier? Okay, so waiting for somebody to save you. Waiting for somebody to come and like...
I was like, someday the label will come. Someday my label will...
If we had waited for a label to come, none of this would have ever happened.
Never.
Because we'd still... be waiting.
No, it is so important to not wait for somebody to come in and give you the keys, right? You hold the keys. And this is the only reason I feel like that we incarnate on earth, is because you're born and then like this blinder, this veil is put over you where you're like, oh shit, I forgot who I am and what I want to do. And everybody's telling me I can't act this way because it's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's so important to just work through that shit and force yourself to drop.
It's very healthy. I think it's healthy in a lot of ways. And look, it's even if you think it's not done yet, there are so many people that we talk to who are incredible artists, writers, whatever, but they're like, I don't know, it's just not done yet.
I wasn't happy with the video. We have to like save up more money and shoot another video.
So
like,
look,
yo,
it's not that can't be helpful sometimes, but to be honest with you, you guys are way too early to say that.
Yeah.
So you need to what I mean by that is you have to go out and really experience what's even developing. You have to fucking develop yourself now, because nobody else is going to do it unless they literally give you the worst label deal or artist deal of all time.
I'm talking to the artists out there that don't have a budget, because we didn't have a budget.
We didn't. And there are a lot of these things now, and like that was old world stuff that it's now, you can get a home studio for
like $500.
$500, yeah. Maybe like a K.
Yep. You can buy tracks on YouTube for $20.
Was a Lil Nas X?
Yes.
That was
Old Town Road was like a $20 track.
Say that one more time.
Old Town Road by Lil Nas X. This is according to interviews and stuff that he's done. Was like a $20 instrumental.
So my point is not to underpay your producers, because definitely fucking pay your producers.
Yeah, eventually I'm sure they renegotiated.
Yeah, I'm sure they renegotiated.
It's like a quadruple diamond record.
He found a way. He was like, okay, well, that's the traditional way of doing things. I can't hang with that. I'm not going to pay somebody $5K to like do this and do this, whatever. There are places I can get, obviously, interesting, fucking dope, fresh beats.
Yeah, because these producers make a lot of beats.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They don't need to all be $40,000. Like, come on. There's websites where you can get these. I'm sure with any trade, any industry, it's like, last night I was researching aromatherapy and like how to mix your own fragrances. I was like, oh, wow. This is all free information. Yeah. So if you're stuck on anything, YouTube University, let's go.
Yep.
Okay, so we need to talk about The War of Art, which is another book by Stephen Pressfield. So this book is all about resistance, and I love how he personifies it. He's like, oh, here comes resistance. It's like grumpy. It's like the grumpy dwarf, like going, ugh. Because as soon as you sit down to create something and you're like, all right, guy, listen to the House of Herby podcast, and I'm going to make my first thing, and we're going to, and you sit down and you're like, all these fears of
backspace,
like, delete, throw the computer out the window.
Oh, burn the hard drive.
Yeah. So that's when we, again, need to find that fear in the body, release the fear. And I want you to just imagine for a moment, like, where you can see yourself. Try to give yourself all the senses too. Like, what do you smell? What do you taste? What do you see? How does it feel to touch that Balenciaga gown? Like, what is it like to be the greatest version of you? And then just give us that to the best of your budget and the best of your ability. Yep. And start dropping it. You're going to start collecting people that are also interested in how the Balenciaga dress smells.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden you're an expert in Balenciaga dresses, and you have a blog about it and a podcast, and
you're going to make the big thing that I think both of us are really good at, but you're really good at, is making micro adjustments as you go. We're going to talk about the blinders, putting the blinders on too. It's like a racehorse in a horse race. Okay. Ooh. One of those. They have the fucking blinders on, because if they take their eye off the shit for a second, if they fall, like, you're going so fast. The point is, you need to be hyper focused on what's in front of you.
Yes.
So that's the point. When we first started doing the covers on Carmen too, we were like, this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. We're going to make micro adjustments as we go. Okay. Like, maybe as far as create the creatives, bouncing between where you are as an artist and what you're willing to expand to reach a greater audience.
Yes.
But for the most part, when you start and you have the fucking blinders on, you're like, this is what it is.
When we first started Carmen and posting these videos, it would get like 600 views, 1,000 views. And we were like, oh, cool.
And the first one that got a good amount of momentum was because people hated it.
We have a whole episode about haters for you.
This is a whole separate episode.
But no, it is a real thing. All of these things you are so early in your journey. If you haven't dropped yet, babe, get in the pool. Jump the fuck in. Mm-hmm. It's time to go. We're here to support you.
And you're going to be okay. I think the point is, like, you're going to survive. You're going to survive. It's not about the first thing. It's about that you never know what's gonna fucking hit, when, why, where.
You might discover that you're doing aura cleanses on Instagram now, and like, bitches like it. Like, I did not know. I did not see that.
If that's the case, stop uploading.
So it is. I hope that's encouraging.
That in itself is so cool, because you have always been a healer.
Things you can expect are for it to be very uncomfortable, for that resistance gremlin to come in to the room every time you try to create, and just having to like sit with yourself and be like, no, I'm going to focus. I'm going to turn my phone off. Ooh, that's a big one. You have to keep your focus. You need to have like notebooks of write your blueprint out. We went to the Tupac Museum the other day. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And he was such a brilliant strategist, like in his note. This is before the internet too, so nobody saw this, but he had like such great penmanship. First of all, his handwriting was amazing. And he was so creative. He was coming up with all these things, and his fashion and everything. It was just much more depth to his artistry than I even was aware of.
He was writing screenplays.
I want you to be a mad scientist on this shit. I want you to dive deep into your passion. Last week we found your passion. So it's like, it's time to go. This is the hardest part. Once you get past this, it's like jumping in a cold swimming pool. I love when you talk about base hits.
Woo! I love base hits.
Try to get just get the base hits. Don't worry about a grand slam right now. Everybody's like, but I need to wait till my song is perfect.
Oh my God,
and
I need the perfect pitch.
Deal,
I need
I want
it to be
all the
amazing.
Music. I want to $500,000 video.
Dude, guess who's not going to give you a fucking perfect fucking pitch? Anybody ever playing baseball. So chill. This goes in line with what you were saying about waiting for somebody to save you to, or waiting for a label to come and see the vision. If you don't show them the vision yet, the odds of them getting the vision right are like less than 0.0000004. Okay? So base hits, if you're up there looking for the perfect pitch.
Is this a baseball analogy on a podcast where we don't
I know, sorry.
love sports?
Straight guy alert. The analogy is, if you're waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect pitch to make the perfect swing, just try to swing for the fences, your strikeout rate is going to be insanely high. It's not like a positive, happy place to be. It's very stressful. You need to hit the home run. There's a lot of pressure, right?
How many bases do you need to get a home run?
Okay, so just...
I don't know that answer.
Okay, grand slam or home run? Oh, my God.
I don't know the difference.
We're divorced.
Just tell us how to get the same result with base hits, because it just takes a few more.
The whole point of this is...
smaller actions to get to the big...
Get in the game. Don't worry about the home run. If they come... Awesome. It'll be the ones where you're barely swinging and you're like, and it just fucking flies over the fence. Get the base hits. Just get on base. Don't worry about it. Just make things that you're excited about. Mm-hmm. Make things that you're excited about. I said this last time too, but when you start to actually value your opinion more than everybody else's, it's incredible what you can accomplish.
Yes. And can I say something about the compound effect too, of like doing little things every day or getting the base hits?
Yeah.
Guess what happens if you get a grand slam like 18 to 20 months in? You have a back catalog now of songs, candles, art, whatever the fuck you're making. You have a back catalog of stuff and all that experience of like fulfilling orders, taking credit cards, selling your own merch. Like you're touring. It's like you have so much more going for you. By the time you hit the grand slam, you are maximizing that grand slam.
When Carmen first, Look at Me Now, exploded, there were a lot of things that we were not ready for yet.
Oh, no.
It happened probably too early.
Definitely. We were very green, and I think
insanely
we did
green.
have like 50 videos up on YouTube though, so
which was great. And that
gave us a lot more momentum when we went to take label meetings. They were like, "Oh shit, y'all have a catalog. There's a vibe. There's a fan base. There's a following."
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to build that shit first before you play with the big dogs.
And again, back to the compound effect. We didn't even know this, but after Look at Me Now blew up, we realized we were on iHeart or whatever.
Like rising artist things?
Yes.
We didn't even know this.
We didn't even know about it. It was on one of their whatever pages for the last month, for the last 3 or 4 weeks straight.
Because we were so focused on... We had the blinders on. We literally didn't even see it, which is kind of cold.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And consistency. But that's my point, too. Like, also, not to keep talking about Carmen, because we're experiencing now this so much with Queen Herby, too. The compound effect.
The compound. How
Sugar
many
Daddy,
EPs do I have?
Just a shitload.
Yeah.
And then when Sugar Daddy knocked off last fucking year, we had a catalog of shit for people to go back and check out.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of momentum there. And all these other videos. You have thousands of videos a day of people making to Queen Herby songs now on the internet.
Yes. So when Sugar Daddy blew up, we had like 50 or 60 other songs out. So instead of having a big song or like a hit product or whatever, people are like, oh, let me go buy that mascara. They're like, oh, but also this lipstick, but also this. Like you need to build that, because then you're going to maximize those big moments. Don't happen, all the time.
And don't worry about timing. This is a huge this social media fucks you up with this stuff too. Because by the way, everybody's posting all this stuff about how good they're doing, and it's usually all fake or bot or bullshit anyway. So you're competing against something that's not even real.
Yeah, that's very
FYI.
confusing.
So don't compete against it. Just do your own thing. Don't worry about the timing. If you see other friends like, oh, I dropped my second song and it's fucking number 2 on TikTok, and you're like, fuck, that's okay. Just be happy for them. It just shows that something that is possible.
Your turn is coming.
Your turn is coming. Don't worry about timing. Fall in love with the process. put the blinders on and just keep making shit and releasing it. Because also there is no feedback at all close to like the actual feedback of the public. You can play it for all the A&Rs in the fucking world and all the tastemakers and all this, that, and the other thing. And every time you go to play a song for somebody, you're like, what do you think about it? You ask their opinion. Guess what? They're going to give you their opinion. It's never organic.
Right.
As if you're just sitting there and like, I like this or I don't like it.
We prefer to now, just like when we have new songs, we'll just send it to our team and be like, yeah, on your own time, like when you're naked, just listen to it when you're naked. It's like better. It's just better to experience something that way.
Put the song on,
because when
take a picture.
When you go to a thing and you like play them the song and you're just looking at them and you're just, it's just not.
What do you think about it?
This is never how anyone consumes the product, right? It comes down to that individual person listening to your song or experiencing your product or your art. Whatever it is that you owe us, by the way, we need your art. That is the experience you're looking for, not the outside opinion. So the blinders are super clutch. Can we also talk about, we convince people to like drop their shit and then they keep dropping, like 3 to 5 to 6 months later, you're going to look back at your original stuff and be like, oh, how do you feel about looking back at your old work?
Oh yeah. Usually I hate it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. End
Usually
of conversation.
Yeah.
It's a normal phenomenon, y'all. Don't
Very
feel
normal.
so much pressure to like, that's why you have to start. I would love for you to get to the point where you hate your old shit. Mm-hmm. That's tight.
Ooh, bars. Put that on another t-shirt.
For you to get to that point.
It's like this combination of being serious about it, taking yourself seriously, but also not being serious.
Too serious? It's the
you have to
serious
be loose.
Anti-serious
oh
campaign.
My God. We have been talking about
not
this.
seriously.
I am like, seriously. Oh,
like that one, for example, like after we heard the 10,000th video of like, seriously, we were like,
no,
what have we done?
It was playing in my sleep.
But no,
it hurts.
But no, that song took me like 5 minutes to write. And I'm so proud of how free I felt when writing that. Like I'm still so proud of that song. So try to keep your perspective in tow, because your fans that's going to now turn into nostalgia 10 years from now. They're going to be like, seriously, you know, it's going to end up on some like the cheesiest songs of the 2020s. Great. At least they're talking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is your contribution. And I think also coming to terms with who you are is kind of intense. As you drop your art, you're like, oh shit, I am this person who drew fairies when she was a child. And it's who I am. You know, someone said like, I'm becoming besties with my cringeness.
Wow. That's another t-shirt.
That's like really intense to be like, oh, I am like kind of cringy, like in the terms of the world. Right. But again, we have our blinders on. We don't give a shit. Just want to say for a second that one of my biggest challenges has been to trust the universe. Like the timing, not only the timing, but also like how things have unfolded. I did not expect to blow up for rapping back in 2000 Diggity.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Me either.
But what's nice is you learn to like flirt with the universe and flow. And I'm sorry for people that don't like the word universe. You can use God, you can use Sarah, you can use whatever you want to name your higher power. But I have learned to trust her, and it is wonderful.
Dude, trusting the universe, wow.
Let's put it in specific terms of dropping.
On. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to go a little bit wider. Can I go wider first?
You may.
Imagine everything you do every day is perfectly the way it should be. Just take a second and imagine that. Imagine going to work. What if everything you're doing right now is exactly how it should be? Suddenly, everything becomes like a fucking movie, and then you're like, oh, wow, cool. Imagine if the universe is doing that to you. Just trust it. What happens? Just what happens if you trust it? Try it. Just for like a day, couple hours, fucking weekend, a week, 6.5 years.
You're like, wow, this is exactly where I was supposed to be at this moment.
What if you thought that? All of a sudden, things become really like happy and loose. And I think it takes a lot of fear out. So we're talking about like the fear. I know we have a ton of friends that are afraid of dropping. It's like the fear of the drop. And it's completely irrational. It's fake. It doesn't mean that it doesn't feel real to you at the time. But what if you trusted the universe? When
you start embracing what's happening, you're like, oh, damn. And then it starts to become fun. Because you're like, oh, that's really interesting that happened in my movie. Because the other thing that I realized when I started dropping is I was like, well, everyone's going to see that I'm a failure. And the truth was, like, everybody was busy with their own movie. And the cool thing about forcing you to drop, because we need your art. The cool thing about pushing you to drop and to start is that how are you going to get a good business deal from an investor or a label or whatever if you haven't shown your cake? You have to show them you can bake a fucking thick cake so that you're worth more. They're going to give you more and they're going to take less. Does that make sense?
Especially with the music industry, as soon as you don't need a label is when they're going to start showing up.
And you're like,
once you've proven that you can do everything yourself, then somebody else is going to be interested.
Now you got to write me a fat check.
Now you do.
Because you're late.
So you're going to have to pay up. So that's the other side of that.
I think everybody would prefer to feel that way than
absolutely.
to be like scraping for.
And that way you really know your craft. I think that's like a bigger, when I was being honest with myself about going to Berkeley, that was a big thing that I found. Because if I was to ever be successful in music, I wanted to be like, no, I know what the fuck I'm talking about, actually, bro.
I want to know how the orders are packed. I want to know how much effort it takes to actually print a shirt. I want to know how long it takes to like record a vocal. How much does mixing cost? What mix engineer knows what they're doing and which one is not like sounding the way I want it to. All of these difficult little baby challenges that you told us to break it down into are so valuable. Even when you get somebody eventually who just does it for you, you're like, damn, I really appreciate you. Because I know how hard this is.
Totally. Which is going to only create a way more positive vibe. And they're going to want to be around you more. And it creates loyalty. It creates all these wonderful high vibrational things all of a sudden.
That make your business sustainable.
Fucking better.
Sustainable.
Sustainability was the word for when we started Qveen Herby.
OMG.
OMG, LOL.
So we do this dorky stuff where we like write these big words or phrases on pieces of paper and just tape them to the walls.
We do that. We should get back to that, actually.
We used to have fucking business meetings together. Like in the Carmen days, you come over and I'd be like, all right, and I would get this big piece of paper and like draw, like here, over here, what we're going to do is bring this. And then if you draw a line over here and it becomes this. And then the goal is to hit 10,000 subscribers by this date. As silly as they were, it's all intuitive, right? Intuitively, what you're doing is you're building the new earth. You're showing us that people can do what they love to do. They can build something with meaning and they can do it in ways that make them feel fulfilled. Now, that doesn't mean like I need to make $10 billion a year. It means like I want to make sure that people I work with, I love and I respect their craft, and I want to make things that are meaningful for my customer or my client or my listeners. And that's going to make their lives better because remember, money follows value. So that comes back. Like
absolutely. That is such a big deal for our personal experience with this. So I think to come full circle, the fear of dropping is worse in your mind by a factor of like fucking 25 more than it actually is when you drop. So you're going to be okay. You're going to survive. Just start. Everybody who's ever ended up on some fucking billboard somewhere started where you are right now. I know that's as cliche as everything else that happens, but that's very
possible they had, rich parents and an uncle that worked for a company.
That's fine. But there's just as many examples of people who didn't.
Correct.
Every Steve Jobs, every fucking Walt Disney, every single one of these motherfuckers, every Kanye, every Oprah, they all started here, kind of like trying to figure out their stuff. We're in a beautiful age right now where you have the internet, hopefully.
Yes.
And make shit that you love. Find your purpose, find your passion, make shit that you love, and stay with it. Keep the blinders on. Do micro adjustments as you go, but keep the fucking blinders on. Enjoy the process.
And when you have those moments of shame and fear and all that stuff in your body, I want you to look at your like whatever you dropped, and I want you to be like, cool, I had like 10 new customers or like 12 new streams. Like I want you to write the numbers down every time you drop too, because that's something we did.
Yeah.
And over time you see it to start to grow is going to give you the encouragement to keep going because it will grow.
It will grow.
It's impossible for it to not.
And also just go do something nice for a stranger.
And we're going to embarrass you.
We're going to try that.
Yes.
Tell us about it so we can embarrass you publicly.
It's just a reciprocal thing, You're like, hey, nice,
anything.
I love your dress. And then she's like, oh my God, thanks. And then we're going to make fun of you.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We're all going to have a good time together.
So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you got some nuggets of gold out of this conversation. We have a lot of experience. I want you to leave us some comments if we missed something, because this is such a crucial point in your incredibly majestic life that we see for you. I hope you can see it, and tune in next week for more. We're going to dive deep into some branding and mood boarding and all that other good shit. We'll see you next time.
Backspace. Stop uploading. I love bass hits. Bacon at 420.
Fuck yes.
I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Dearest Sarah.
You're not going to pay the ticket. It is important to draw dicks sometimes if you're having a hard day. I want to be famous. It's like with only 3 small payments.
If you call right now. That's what she said.